views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. It's New Year's Eve, and so first off, happy holidays and best wishes for a wonderful and peaceful Bronx in 2019. Tonight we continue a little tradition that we've started over the past few years. I'm told it may be 4 years. And we brought in our buddy Joe Raskin, who is literally and figuratively wandering New York. In case you don't know, Joe is a photographer. He's a former transit employee who loves all of our city, and he literally wanders New York taking photos. Of course, we love his Bronx photos the best, and it is a great way for us to ring out the old and ring in the new. We do it each year. We take a look at the best of wandering the Bronx in 2018. Joe Raskin, nice to have you.
Nice to be here, and Happy New Year to everybody in the Bronx.
Happy New Year. We're going to aim for a really good, productive, peaceful year in the borough of the Bronx. Yeah. Let's just go back. I probably asked you these questions in previous visits, but let other people in on it. In terms of starting wandering New York, about how long ago? I'm guessing it was kind of a natural thing because you love to take pictures, you love the city, and you said, I think I'll go take a walk.
That's about the size of it. I just always loved walking around the city, even before I took photographs, and I just started taking pictures of it one day. Recently, I posted a photo I took 40 years ago on East 86th Street. In Manhattan, that was literally the
40 years ago.
Literally the first picture I took that was what you call a wandering photograph.
And when you go out once a week, twice a week. I mean, I see stuff that you post, and I'm like, wait a minute, Joe is out there again?
Every day. I'm
out
every day. And then, even if the weather's bad, I'll figure out some way to get pictures.
Do you take like a dartboard and throw it on the wall? Because, you know, I mean, I don't look at his Brooklyn and Queens photos, I promise you, but you do plenty of Bronx photos, and how do you decide where to go?
I just let inspiration take me. It's every now and I'll get an idea for something that I want to take a picture of, and then I expand from there. One of the last times I was up in the Bronx, I wanted to go past the house that my dad grew up in on 80th Avenue, and I took it from there. I went around on some streets above Burke Avenue that I hadn't been on before, and so I started up below there. So I wound up going basically from the Pelham Parkway station on the number 5 train up to the Gun Hill Road station, the number 2 train. And you
travel via mass transit. I mean, we started out by saying you're the transit guy, so you travel by mass transit.
That's right. I don't own a car, so wherever the subway system, the bus system, or the commuter rail system takes me, that's where I go.
How many pictures do you take? Now, of course, when you started, I'm guessing 40 years ago, it was all film. How many pictures do you take now? You have digital, you can take
it varies. I used to have the limitation based on the amount of film I could afford and carry around. Now with the digital, it just depends on where the urge takes me.
You know, when we say wanders New York, obviously New York is filled with fascinating people, but you don't shoot people. It's I guess, landscapes, technically, but it's buildings and places.
I call them streetscapes or cityscapes.
Streetscapes, fair enough.
Lately, people have begun to get into the pictures a little bit, although at the best they're always peripheral to the picture. I try not to have people in it. For another reason, I'm kind of shy. I don't want them saying, hey, what did you take my picture for?
Obviously, we're going to be taking a look at a number of the photos. What among the many things I like about it is I may have passed by a building 1,000 times, but when you take a photograph, it makes it somewhat iconic, and it gives you a chance to look at gorgeous architecture and landscapes and everything else, and streetscapes, if you will, in the Bronx. How do you choose, like when you're walking around, do you just, shoot everything? Or do you really stop and say, this one will work, or I've always wanted to see that building, or how does that work?
Pretty much that. If I see something that interests me, I'll go for it. I always have this very strong sense of curiosity of what's on the next block, and to look around for that. And also there are certain pictures. Anytime that I go past I go past certain buildings, I always take a picture of it. I don't have it with me today, but the Flatiron Building at Tremont Avenue and Grand Concourse.
Who doesn't know that building? Of course.
Anytime I go by there, I'll take a picture of it. Another picture on the Grand Concourse, the Marty House. By East 204th Street in the Concourse.
Of course.
I'll
always take a shot.
Always take a shot of it.
And obviously we've had your photos on here literally every New Year's for, you said the last 4. I didn't really look it up, so it's certainly the last several years. My sense for this year was that you spent a little more time post-production, so to speak, in that you've used the new technologies to maybe play with the colors, give things maybe a more archival feel or some other feel. And that to me would characterize what I've seen. Is that a correct assumption on my evaluation on my part?
I've sort of evolved with it. I spend more time on individual photographs as I download. So it's just a sense of wanting to make them a little bit better than.
Better? Nothing's better.
Yeah. But no, I mean, not just to improve the picture
but
itself.
But it really has enhanced it. And then the last question before we get it, because we want to show people pictures, that's the whole beauty of it. Do you feel that you've changed, or your perception has changed over the course of many years that you've doing this? Or is it really, this is what I started with, and this is what I'm doing now?
Oh no! Anytime I can see what I do now is different than I was doing even a year ago. I've been taking some pictures in the subways that I wouldn't have taken a couple of years ago. I take some pictures on the street I wouldn't have taken a couple of years ago. With some pictures, I'm trying more with the telephoto effect than I used to.
Do a little more. And you use just a little. If I remember, was it a Pentax camera?
Well, my Pentax died.
So I remembered right. Okay,
so
fair enough.
I'm now on to a Panasonic camera.
All right.
I got everything I could. I got an immense amount of value out of the Pentax.
But it's not a sophisticated camera, right?
Oh no, I don't consider it to be sophisticated. Probably more than when I started out. I used a little Canon XLM, which was just like a point and shoot type of camera.
Right.
And so it's like the third in the series of cameras. So it's everything evolves.
What is to me just so wonderful about the work and what we're doing and what we're trying to do tonight, how ordinary things in the Bronx, using ordinary, quote unquote, ordinary camera equipment, can be just gorgeous. And that's what we want to think about as we go from 2018 to 2019. All right, we ready?
All
right. Also, by the way, Helen, anytime you can put up his website and Instagram, whatever else you have, so people can find photos. Truth be told, I have not seen any of these photos yet. So let's entertain Gary tonight. Let's see what we got. All right, this first one is coming up. This one looks like
this is the Bronx River.
I was going to say it must be the Bronx River.
Makes this a little bit of a turn up above Gun Hill Road, and I caught it. I got lucky. It was just like the right time of the year to get a shot like this. It's just
so this would have been a fall. I mean, judging from the leaves, in October or November.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, or was. The best thing I can say with my photography also is being the right place at the right time. Pure luck.
Standing on one of the bridges that goes over?
Yeah, this is along Bronx Boulevard.
Along Bronx Boulevard. All right, well, we've made a good start, folks. Oh, and what I wanted to add, which I didn't mention before, you've taken more photos of subway stations, I think, and trains looking down the tracks than ever before. I could be wrong. Do we just lose the one that we had? Oh, here it is. Maybe you could see it. Oh, it was there. What happened to that photo? Did we lose a photo? There it is. Okay, maybe, Joe, you can see it there.
That's the Pelham Parkway station on the number 2 train. That's one of it's one, in terms of the overall environment, the overall look, the work the transit did on fixing it up. It's one of the nicest looking stations in the whole system.
It is more sleek looking than many of the train stations. One of the things, and I don't know what photos we're going to look at, but one of the things that to me characterizes your elevated train photos is that you'd think they were all straight, but there's a lot of like a roller coaster.
Very much
not in this
so,
case, but
although if you go a little bit south of the station, looking towards the Bronx Park East station, yes, it does take a dip.
This really, to me, this is a Bronx photo. This is the Bronx. All right, let's see. What do we got?
This is on the Grand Concourse at East 162nd Street. It's a beautiful building. It's typical for the concourse, but means it's atypical for just about the rest of the city.
Really? Why would you say that?
Just the looks of the building, the curvature of the window with the windows, the curvature of the brick and the brickwork.
Are you understand architecture and things like that? So like when you look at it, you'll know what period it was created.
Except for the Art Deco, not really. I just know what I like. I tend to look for it.
I'm fascinated by what you said that this is a Grand Concourse building, and you, if I were to ask who knows all the buildings in the city, you don't find a building like that maybe on Queens Boulevard or.
Not on Queens. You have buildings like that along 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, down towards Bay Ridge. There's a collection of Art Deco buildings there, but there's much more of it in the Bronx.
Well, and actually on that photograph, that rounded window, I'd love to be invited up to somebody's apartment and see how it looks. We assume it's rounded on the inside.
I would hope so, yeah.
There you go. All right, let's see what's next. Okay. Oh, that was the one we just saw, right?
That's in Melrose. That's the home of the Bronx Documentary Center.
I was going to say, it was very familiar.
And it's just a wonderful building. It's just it stands out in so many different ways in terms of the windows, the brickwork, the housing around the windows. It shows that it's been maintained well and with a lot of love to it.
You could go to the Bronx Documentary Center and go to an event at the Bronx Documentary Center and walk in and see all the great photos and highly recommend it, of course, and never really realize that this is what the Bronx Documentary Center, and it almost looks like a ship in and of itself, you know,
very much so,
especially
yes.
the top. And now, did you play with that photo at all?
When I play, sometimes I'll darken it a little bit and work on, but basically keep the same thing. I don't add anything to it. I mean, the terms of or eliminate anything from it. The best way I could say, I try to do with a computer what I would do if I was still using a darkroom, the same type of effects.
I see. So while yes, you're making use of the new technology, in theory, you're thinking.
It's the same way. It's the same. I have a little bit of experience with using darkrooms, but mostly with black and white film. So it's.
I am particularly fond of this photograph for two reasons. One, I've already said that I've been to the Documentary Center any number of times and never noticed the full building like that. And so that's number one. Thank you for doing that. And number two, it just reminds us of the things we don't see in the Bronx. Look how incredible that building is. Just thank you, Joe, for wandering New York.
Yeah.
All right, let's do another. I could do this all night.
This is one of the pictures that anytime I'm in a neighborhood, I'll take a picture of. This is in Van Nest. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Amethyst Street.
Amethyst.
Yeah.
Like the jewel.
Yes. Yeah. It's right off of Morris Park Avenue. It's something about the rooftops and again the brickwork. And it's like anytime I'm there, I feel compelled to take a picture of it.
There are many aspects of this photograph that I like. Number one, given what we've seen, the Grand Concourse and those pictures there, right? The Bronx Documentary Center and that very unusual architecture there. And look at how different you could miss if you're not looking at that. And if Bronx Talk and Wandering New York is not telling you, take a look at what is going on in the Bronx. The other thing that I like in terms of just how civilization is, these are older buildings. Look at the wired connections up front. I mean, you cannot miss the fact that you've got electricity and cable and
Telephone wires.
telephone wires and who knows what else. And that is modern life in the Bronx. Wow. All right. Keep going. Oh, and we are going to put up the website again. Different architecture. Look at this. Look at this beautiful.
This is one of the ones I saw from blocks off. I had to go. I went on my way to go. I was over by Parkchester. This is off of further off from Zerega Avenue.
Okay.
And I saw this from a distance. I said I had to get this one, and it's such a nice house. Again, it's obviously been there for generations.
Generations. It looks reasonably well kept.
Yeah.
I wonder how many apartments are in there. There's got to be two.
I didn't look because I couldn't figure out where when I took the picture I couldn't figure out where the entranceway was.
Well, we'd like you to be wandering but not arrested for trespassing.
Exactly.
But again, look at the range of stuff, and you could miss that, and we do miss this. We're all so busy in the Bronx, and so this is over by Parkchester, near Zerega.
Going towards Westchester Square.
How long do you spend each day doing this?
It varies. I've been limited lately, but I try and do a couple of hours every day of walking around.
Have you visited essentially every deli in New York City or pizza shop?
More or less, yeah. Or any place where I can use the facilities.
That's another one.
So, yeah.
Maybe we should see. By the way, they put your website up there. Oh, these are just great. Let's go. Let's look more at the Bronx for New Year's Eve. All right. Oh, here we go.
This is Hunts Point.
Oh, I was going to say, this is not that building that you would, the Flatiron building.
No, that's but this is one, I saw from a distance, I had to go. This is on Hunts Point Avenue by, I hope I'm pronouncing this street name correctly, Fail Street, F-A-I-L-E Street.
Fail Street, of course.
With a Spofford Avenue in the background.
Wow.
And it was just, Hunts Point to me was a revelation. Going around seeing some of the buildings there as well.
Now you say a revelation. It would be hard for me to imagine that you had not been there.
I had been alongside, but not as deeply through it as I had been this first time.
Part of I guess what you do and then what you translate to us through the photographs is discovery.
Yeah.
So here's an area that you'd never been to. Are you ever amazed how endless New York City is?
Oh, never. That's the whole point. If I get to an end, that's the end. That's it for me. Yeah, so,
and you know what else I love, which also gives the whole thing structure, is the fact that the liquor sign is vertical.
Yeah.
And that helps you to see
clearly it's been there for many years as well.
So, for example, in this building, how many pictures did you take, like from different angles?
You
knew what you wanted?
This one I took with, I used my telephone to get.
This is a phone shot.
This is a phone shot. But I also took a couple with my camera and from a couple of different angles. But this was more maybe the first or second one that I took. Basically, if I know I have it, that's one of the great things about digital photography, that you have like this instant replay type of thing, where you know right away if you got it or not. But
you can look right away, as opposed to when we had to pay for film and everything else. And judging from the apparel of the people in the street, this looks like it was
last summer.
I was going to say summer or late spring. Of course, you can see the greenery of the trees. Yeah. Great. Again, another look at a place that people probably have gone by and never really took a look. All right, I'd love to be in one of those. Oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh. What is this?
This is in Highbridge. This is the intersection of Shakespeare and Anderson Avenues. This is I took from a distance. I took from the side, and if you can see the courthouse down the background.
Oh, yes.
Another picture I took, I was trying to get Yankee Stadium into it. It didn't quite work out.
But you know what else is fascinating is the fact that part of the building is down below, so you probably could enter the building on
either side to look at it.
And once you're entering on the first floor and the other entering on the basement.
And you also have a stairway there as well.
That goes down. Yeah.
So there's so many different ways this appealed to me. And I was standing out in the middle of the street trying to get the shot, so I was dodging cars at the same time.
Is the Bronx the hilliest borough? I've always believed it is.
Without question.
Without question.
I mean, you have some parts of Queens which are up on the hill and then goes down. parts of Brooklyn, basically where the back in the Ice Age, where the glaciers stopped. But the Bronx didn't have that problem, so it's like there's very little level land in the Bronx.
And you would not get a architecture and a structure of this size, of this nature, if we didn't have that, because this was built around the structure.
Very
of the
much
Bronx.
so. That it takes the Bronx more than the other boroughs. That the architects and the builders took advantage of the topography of the area to build.
Well, you say took advantage. I'm, knowing developers now and what they're trying to do, it's got to be a challenge.
I don't think you'd see a building like this built today.
Because nobody would take the time to do it.
That's right.
Fascinating. I just, as an aside, there is a building. In fact, I'm going to send you there once they get it done. It's built around this 3-story high rock. And they built it, rather than take down the rock, which would cost a fortune,
right.
They built it, and so they had to do something like this. And I'm going to send you there. I'm going to give you an assignment.
Okay.
It's right in the Bedford Park section of the Bronx. All right, what's next? Let's see. Uh-oh.
Marshall Parkway. I love going along Marshall Parkway at the late fall when the leaves are turning. And it's one of the most beautiful. That and Pelham Parkway to me are the two most beautiful streets in the whole city.
Really?
And it's just
because of the buildings, I'm sure you're happy with that.
The buildings and the trees. And you don't have it. You have it to a certain extent with Riverside Drive, but you don't not really elsewhere.
And then even in again, my knowledge of Brooklyn streets is not like what it is in the borough of the Bronx.
Well, not Eastern Parkway has that, but not as much. Eastern Parkway is.
That's what I was thinking of. Eastern Parkway. Yes.
And I grew up close to Eastern Parkway, but so I have a strong feeling about it as well. But it's not. It's more wide. Even it's widespread as Marshall Parkway, but it's less of a rise on either side either side of it.
You're not going to have to convince me that Marshall Parkway is more pretty. So there you go. What do we got? Again, the range of architecture.
This is in Kingsbridge Heights.
I didn't want to guess, but I recognize that.
Going down the hill towards West 238th Street. It's again one of these cases where the builders took advantage of the topography.
So if you keep going down the hill to the left, that would take you to 238th, like Broadway and Bailey
That's right.
Avenue.
That's right.
Yeah, I know that neighborhood well, obviously.
And it's just, if they built it out more towards the sidewalk, it wouldn't have the same look to it.
Oh, that's interesting because there's room for the garage and the building, the houses are back there. So
I didn't take a picture of bring a picture of this time, but Woodlawn Heights has a number of houses like that as well.
But you're very perceptive to note that they're set back from the street, which gives it a little bit of a different appeal.
Much more of a prettier look, actually.
All right, we have more pictures. We got more, right? All right, let's see.
This is Tremont Avenue by Morris Avenue. Very interesting.
Tremont. I'm just moving my geography around. Tremont and Morris. All right.
Very interesting. There's a historical district around. I was trying to look at a number of the historical districts in the Bronx as well this time. And this is just a very interesting series of houses. This one on the corner, in particular, if you're on one side of it, you just see the square end of it, and on the other side, just for the architectural,
a rounded end.
Rounded edge. Just simply for the
also,
effect.
the colors of the bricks, they would never do anything like that now. The yellow bricks on one side, the orange bricks, and then, of course, the lattice work along the top, which apparently goes down the row houses all the way down.
That's right. And the lines as well. You don't see masonry like this anymore.
Now, is this Southern Boulevard?
Tremont Avenue.
No, I meant Southern.
It's like a couple blocks from the Grand Concourse.
I'm trying to place it. Now you got me. I'm going to go wandering New York to find it.
It's in between. It's Tremont in between the Concourse and Jerome Avenue.
Again, I hope. I mean, I don't know, of course, at all. I hope that the homes are maintained beautifully because these buildings have to stay forever. These are just beautiful, spectacular. All right, let's go. I don't know how many more we got.
This is Mott Haven. This is Alexander Avenue.
I was going to ask about, you were talking about historic districts, about the Mott Haven. Is this part of the historic district?
This is actually below, I think it's not the historical district itself, but it's right below it. And it should be landmarked. If it's not, I don't know every landmark in the city, but if it's not landmarked, these should be. They're beautiful houses.
Well, you could say that it should be landmarked. Of course, the people who have interest in them, whether they be the owners or otherwise, don't like that because then they can't develop it and it costs them a fortune. So I'm not going to make that judgment, even though I can appreciate that aesthetically you think it should be landmarked. Beautiful. Again, the range of architecture.
This is another one of the pictures I take anytime I'm by.
University Avenue?
No, Girard Avenue and 153rd Street. I think this is part of the Grand Conquest Historic District. I'm not sure. If you look in the bottom of the screen, you'll see the big bat from Yankee Stadium.
I was going to say, you can see Yankee Stadium. Yes.
And
and the parking lot for Yankee Stadium.
It's the same time. Anytime I'm in the area, this and the block up by Walton Avenue, the same corner. I feel like
look at the work on that building. My goodness gracious! And on the right side, it's got the red brick. Yeah. Oh my goodness! We have time for one more. We're going to talk about it real quick, and then we're going to wrap it up.
This is another picture I always feel the urge to take a picture of. This is in Fordham Heights, East 188th Street by Elm Place. There's something to the look of this building, the way that the stairways are. The windows, the front windows, you don't see it any place else but in the Bronx. This is the type of building in particular you don't see any place but in the Bronx.
You have kicked us off for our New Year just perfectly. I just can't thank you enough for coming here with your photos. You'll be out even in the cold, in the winter?
Absolutely. Anytime. Even when it's snowing, I'll find a way to get pictures of one place or another.
Let's get his website up there. I'm gonna, I'd like to make suggestions of things that I've seen, but so many of the things I say, oh, I know that neighborhood. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right.
My regards to the people of the Bronx.
We have an appointment now for December 31st or January 1st, 2019 or 20 there?
Definitely.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Joe Raskin and Wandering New York, thank you so much. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. And I don't really care about those other boroughs. Keep shooting the Bronx. That's what we care about. Folks, if you have any questions or comments about anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, you can email them to us at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org, send us a tweet at BronxTalk, or post them on our Facebook page, or you can send me a message and I'll move it over to Joe so you can get a response. We wish everybody a joyous and prosperous and above all peaceful New Year. We thank our great producer, who is Helen Greenberg, our directors William Guzman and Nicholas Marrero. And guess what? Next week will be 2019 and we will be here with more Bronx Talk. Good night. Happy New Year. Peace this year.